in the swing of Judgment Weekend here in the USL Championship, but lucky for both of these teams, they don't have to worry about much. They're already in the postseason, but still plenty to play for here tonight at Lynn Family Stadium. Happy to have you with us as Louisville City FC hosts the Tampa Bay Rowdies with the coach Eric Dobransky. I'm Joe Malfa. Quick look at the Power Net standings here shows you the X next to both of these teams. Louisville earns a home game next week with a win tonight. Tampa Bay, a win could help them possibly host the final. We'll get to it as the night goes along. But Eric, these teams have been attached at the hip year in, year out. 4 straight years, one of these two teams has lifted the Eastern Conference title. It goes back even further when you count Louisville's success back in 17, 18, and 19.
And Joe, sustained success for both of these ambitious organizations, but two teams that understand that momentum, confidence, and rhythm is real, and taking those into the playoffs can be the difference between making that deep run that both teams aim to do, or possibly being one and done.
And there's always late drama when these two teams meet as well. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, they're rivals. They're going to be all in on this game tonight. Take a look at tonight's player profile brought to you by Commonwealth Credit Union with the spotlight on the striker, Wilson Harris.
He's going to look to tip the scale on the offensive side for Lou City. He's the team leader in goals. He's a natural finisher as he can score in a variety of different ways. It's about his movement, how purposeful it is, always setting up his next action, always reassessing what the game is asking of him, and that's what top quality forwards do.
Speaking of top quality forwards, Cal Jennings, 17 goals this year for the Rowdies.
And 2 goals in that last matchup against Lou City with the game winner. He leads this explosive Rowdies attack, an offense that sits in the top 4 in the entire USL. With goals scored with 57, he's relentless, opportunistic, dynamic, clever, all attributes that describe a player that is dangerous and someone that needs to be accounted for.
Well, we're used to seeing these two teams meet at the end of the Eastern Conference playoffs. This time, they meet at the end of the regular season. Still might meet at the end of the playoffs. We'll see that in a few weeks' time. But for now, in the regular season finale, it's Louisville City FC and the Tampa Bay Rowdies on ESPN+.
WDRB is partnering with the Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk on October 28th, so get your teams together and show your support.
I have really met a lot of people that support me.
I'm really looking forward to meeting survivors and thrivers of breast cancer and the people who stood by them through this disease.
I will fight, and I will fight hard.
Join the fight to cure breast cancer. Go to WDRB.com and register your team today.
Commonwealth Credit Union's holiday celebration is back. This holiday season, you can earn not 1, not 2, but 3 points on every dollar you spend when you use My Card to fill up your sleigh. Plus, use your credit or debit card with your mobile wallet for your chance to win $500 in our holiday celebration giveaway. There's a new winner every week. Non-purchase entries are available and have an equal chance of winning. But hurry, this celebration ends December 31st. Commonwealth Credit Union. Here, we see you differently.
Front loader odor. You know that smell when you open your funky front load washer? But at GE Appliances, we've engineered the first and only front load with an ultra-fresh vent system with odor block. Equipped with vents that help keep it dry and antimicrobial technology that protects against bacteria. Basically, funky to fresh, so you can
shut the front door.
No one says that.
Another way we make good things for life.
No.
Packed house here tonight at Lynn Family Stadium under the purple lights, and the lights are bright right now. Final day of the USL Championship regular season. Playoffs are incoming, and so are tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Breeze Airways. Nice, new, and nonstop. That's the Breeze way. Here's the unit for Danny Cruz in Louisville.
And this is a team that creates a number of chances throughout each match, and it's going to be about converting those opportunities. Look for this midfield, McCabe, Gibson, Maris to set the tempo and provide balance in both boxes. Zemla on this back line will look to slow down this Tampa Bay Rowdies attack, but it's going to be about some of those entry passes from Jimenez and Perez out in those wide spaces. We highlighted Wilson Harris in the open, but Tellefson had a really good match last weekend, and then Brian Ownby, always a threat as well.
On the other side, for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, Nicky Law can really pick out any combo he wants up top. Feels he has 8 guys for 4 spots, but this is what it looks like tonight.
And I mentioned in the previous lineup, balance in both boxes, and Tampa Bay Rowdies, 57 goals scored, 37 conceded, 10 clean sheets. This is a team that really closes the lines really well, finds different ways to influence the match. We highlighted Cal Jennings, but J.J. Williams joins him in the front line, 11 goals himself, so somebody else that Lou City needs to keep an eye on.
Danny Cruz knows what this team is capable of once it gets into the playoffs. They're already in, but they want to be playing here under these lights again next week. The situation is clear after New Mexico's win over Memphis last night. A win for Louisville, and they're right back here next week. A loss or a draw, and they will likely be going to Memphis. There's a possibility that they could fall one spot even further behind Indy. We'll lay it all out for you as the night goes along. But the most likely scenario is against Memphis, and with a win, it'll be at home. Tampa Bay locked into number 2, but still need the game in terms of long-term planning. It's Louisville in the black from right to left. It is Tampa Bay in their neon from left to right. And the referee tonight is Nabil Ben Salah. And we're underway at Lynn Family Stadium, final day of the USL Championship regular season. It's the teams who have met in the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals. These games tend to start out interestingly. Here's Williams on cue. J.J. Williams on a giveaway, 30 seconds in. A career-high 13th goal this season.
And matchups like this tend to really depend on some of those opening exchanges and some of the questions you ask of your opponent. And you see Tampa Bay Rowdies right off the bat in this first minute. The pressure there from J.J. Williams, then Cal Jennings forcing this pass right into J.J. Williams. The pressure, Chantosh trying to look for options, but relentless pressure by Jennings and Williams there to put their side up 1-0 and really shock Danny Cruz and Lou City to open this match.
It was Cal Jennings in the first half last time these teams met. Go back to a couple of meetings ago between these teams, and it was 2 early goals for Louisville going back a season. And sometimes these games start off really fast, and I don't think we've seen one start this quickly. And Danny Cruz is not going to be a happy camper on the sideline.
Well, and I think when you get that pressure from Jerome Williams right off the bat, and it really makes the next pass predictable for Cal Jennings, and then the ability to sit along that 18-yard box and just wait for Cal Jennings to force that turnover.
J.J. Williams last year, 12 goals between Tulsa and Phoenix combined after he was traded. Was on 12 coming into this tonight. So sets his career high in the last day of the season. Can add to it as the night goes along. Take a look at the weather report tonight, brought to you by Advanced ENT and Allergy. We're sitting in the 50s. It is cloudy. People got blankets in the stands. It's that time of year. And again, they're hoping they've got at least one more home game next week, but they need to see a Louisville win tonight in order for that to become a reality.
And this is a Louisville City side that are 6 unbeaten here at home. So not only looking to carry that throughout this match, but as you mentioned, secure that 4th spot, and you're bringing somebody here to Lynn Family Stadium, which has been a fortress for Lou City.
It's often we see first half goals between these teams. Last year, not what you want to see in the first half, and as far as interesting things happening early on, that's when we saw the Kyle Morton collision and concussion, and Danny Fondez replaced him. There's always a lot that happens early, and there's always a lot that happens late. You recall the playoff game from now 2 seasons ago when it was left late on. Tampa Bay scored twice to tie it at 2 and then ended up winning it in extra time. So it all happens early, more late between these teams, and it happened 30 seconds in for J.J. Williams.
And to your point, coming into the last day of the season, each of these teams have navigated various scenarios through this 34 game stretch. And going down early, I don't know about 30 seconds into a match, but going down early is something that maybe Lou City has seen, and Tampa Bay going up early. So both of these are scenarios that they've experienced, navigated, so they have the ability to draw back to those scenarios and situations and really pull back and understand what's needed of them.
Commonwealth Credit Union has been bettering lives in the communities they serve since 1951. To learn more, visit WeSeeYouDifferently.com.
And sometimes you've seen teams go down early, and that's a bit of the wake-up call. And
absolutely.
You see a bit of energy, and then sometimes the team that scores early gets a little flat, a little casual, they play a bit more on the back foot.
On that note, when these teams last met, it was scoreless in the first half hour, and that's where Danny Cruz felt the intensity drop. He actually mentioned that tonight. You'll probably hear him on our field mics around the 30-minute mark, yelling at the boys to keep the intensity up. That's when they've had some issues with it dropping, and the last time they played Tampa, it happened around that moment. Tampa Bay was totally out of the game at their place. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay is going into half up 1-0. Now Harris clicks it back for Maris. Can't get through Lasso. So tonight, after that early wake-up call, I don't know if he's going to have to worry about the intensity dropping at the 30-minute mark. Everybody right now on pins and needles with the kind of start they had, especially Sean Tosh. Don't usually see him with that type of blunder. Has played every minute of this season. Looking through for Harris on Lasso. Sparrow with it.
And as you mentioned, Sean Tosh, just such a secure center back, both on the ball, off the ball. So really an uncharacteristic turnover there. So one for Lou City that they're just going to have to brush off and move on from. And I know, talking to Danny Cruz, they really discussed a lot about stacking those sequences, building on complete performances. And obviously going down 1-0 here early is not what you're looking for when you're looking to put a full 90 together. But there's still a lot of game left.
And this is exactly what Tampa Bay was looking for. We teased it a little bit in the open of the show that this game does matter for them in a way, not the way you might think. They're locked in as that #2 seed here in the Eastern Conference. The only way this game matters is if later tonight on the West Coast, Sacramento drops points against Miami. In that case, Tampa Bay in second in the East would have more points than anybody in the West, meaning it would guarantee if they make a final, they would host it at Al Lang Stadium. The only time they could possibly be on the road would be in the Eastern Conference final against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And that's something Nicky Law and company are very mindful of. We asked him about it this week. Are you gonna rest guys? Would you like to have that sort of break before the playoffs next week? And the answer was no, because of the potential of hosting a final, knowing that this team's aspirations are title or bust. If you can get it so that that game is at your building, you'll do everything in your fiber to make that the case. And as you see now, they have a full strength 11. Mimics the 11 from last week, probably mimics the 11 they'll put out there in their first playoff game next week. They're all in on making sure they can do their part in finishing ahead of Sacramento. Now Sacramento could go out tonight and beat Miami 6-0, and that's all a moot point, but they're gonna do what they can at least in the interim.
And to add to that, home field advantage is real. It's especially when you have the fan bases that these two organizations and these two teams have. I mean, you have the opportunity to host at home throughout and have games at Al Lang Stadium in front of that fan base. And then for Lou City to host a first round game, if you can finish 4th in the standings, I mean, those are huge and really can tip the scale in regards to results.
2019, they were a 4 seed. Louisville still made the final, so they know the road to the title game is still there, even if you're not one of the top seeds, and they maybe have a road back into this game here off the corner.
We talk about that opening goal, maybe re-energizing or waking Lou City, is you've already seen it. lot of the second ball is going to Lou City. They're really doing a good job of playing that front foot, earning a corner kick here.
Whipped in toward the back post by McCabe. Comes out for Maris. Lays it off for Perez. Knuckler, that sliced in the end. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.us.select-sport.com for the latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice.
You laid out the playoff scenario and the points, and I think another aspect is that both of these teams want to be in good form heading into the playoffs. You talk to Danny Cruz and that disappointment from that New Mexico result, and then the 1-1 draw with Hartford was a bit more pleased with the performance.
Advantage played for Jennings. Now LaCava cutting in, looking back for Jennings, cut off. Good decision to play that advantage. Almost came to fruition. A heavy tackle here. Forrest Lasso coming all the way up to deal with Wilson Harris.
And then on the opposite side, Tampa Bay Rowdies looking to bounce back from a 2-0 defeat to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a game that really could have swung the direction of where they sat in the Eastern Conference.
Harris, 9 goals this season, down a bit for him. Through career high 15 last season. It's been the theme this year for Louisville, as Adams nods it back for Zemla. It's been the theme, creating plenty of chances, but by and large not finishing as many of them as they would like. That's why they're sitting middle of the pack right now in the East, and Harris was used as an example by Danny Cruz. Didn't mean to pick on him in any way, but confidence, a big reason. They haven't really scored as much as they have in years past, where maybe last year Harris, after a drought, would have scored the 1 goal, and that would have turned into a few. Look out here, carelessly given away for the corner. But it just hasn't snowballed where he'd get that goal, you'd think it would unlock and the dam would burst, but all of a sudden now it's 4 games in a row again where he didn't score, so it just hasn't gone their way this year offensively.
Yeah, and some of the toughest things to do and navigate as a coaching staff and as a team is just assuming that offensively it's going to start coming. And again, you mentioned it, this is a team that sits in the top 3 in chances created and shots, with 447 shots total as they set up for this corner kick.
Second Wi-Fi corner kick of the night. In-swinger from Jimenez. Adams was there, comes out for Gibson. Sliding effort to block it by Cal Jennings. Back out to Perez. Good service, looking for Harris still with the numbers committed forward off the corner. Somebody looking for it here. It's found by Doherty and cleared.
You just think that Gibson could have attacked that ball a little bit quicker, giving Cal Jennings the opportunity to get back and make that tackle. But going back to the offensive side for Lou City, it's assuming that it's gonna really start to come into form. You're gonna start scoring the goals because you're creating so many opportunities. But Danny Cruz talked about it. You can recreate some of those situations in training. You can put offensive players in front of goal, your team in front of goal as much as you can. But as you mentioned, it's the confidence part of it, and I go back to it. That's going to be something for Lou City going into the playoffs, and Tampa Bay Rowdies as well, is those timely goals.
Louisville has settled into control of this game after giving away the early goal, and I mean giving away. Tosh had his pocket picked. J.J. Williams all alone in the box. Slotted it past Oliver Zemla 30 seconds in. Danny Cruz may be happy with the response so far, that this team has taken that punch to the jaw and just got right back on the horse to their style, to their identity. Now they just have to find a way to come back in this one, of course. It's through Perez and to LaCava. Jake LaCava, step over to his left. LaCava off the post! That's how quickly Tampa Bay can counter on you.
And that's the explosiveness that this team has showcased throughout this season and why they sit at 58 total goals. Jake LaCava driving at this Lou City backline, putting on his left foot, but it's the runs by Williams and Cal Jennings as well that occupy the other defenders.
You could sense the confidence in our conversation with Nicky Law that this might be the team to do it for the Rowdies. And you go back to 2021, they felt that was the team, and they get upset of sorts at home against Orange County. And every step of the way, last few years, they felt that was the team, that was the team. So maybe it's more of the same that they feel this is the team, but this is probably the most complete team they've had. And Nicky Law specifically pointed to the attack of this Rowdy side. More on that in just a second. Jimenez looking for Ownby, but it's the attack of this team. Last year when he was here as a player, then he went away to Huntsville in MLS Next Pro as a player coach and made his way back this year when Neil Collins departed. When he was here as a player last year, they felt internally they had everything but the consistent goal scoring. So what did they do? They went out, they signed Cal Jennings, they signed J.J. Williams mid-year, they picked Jake LaCava back up from Inter Miami, and they also have Charlie Dennis sitting on the bench. He had 11 goals. J.J. Williams is right there at his career high now. Cal Jennings has 17. They have the goals and plenty of them. They're still terrific defensively. They feel this is the team that can get over the hump and get it done.
And the reason that both of these organizations continue to have success and that sustainability is their identities and the style of play and the way they want to play. But what you just spoke about is something that, although you have that clear identity both on and off the ball, you need players that have that nose for goal, that have that ability to be opportunistic in games that, guess what? A team has a good scouting report. They have the ability to shut down some of those moments that you like to do, whether it's in the build-up play or transition. And you have players, as you mentioned, for Tampa Bay Rowdies that are just game changers, and that's maybe something that they've lacked in some of those moments where things were just not working, and you just need a goal to whether it's to equalize or find the game winner. And as you mentioned, Nicky Law feeling really comfortable about that aspect of their team, but it's also the adaptability of some of these attacking players. They can play higher up the field, they can play wide, they can play back to goal, they can drop in deep and still play make.
Fans, when Lou City wins, you win. This season, Lou City has partnered with Wendy's to give you a free small Frosty. If the boys in purple win, no purchase necessary. Offer valid the day after a win. Head to any participating Louisville area Wendy's to redeem.
And as we saw with the opportunity from Jake LaCava, although momentum and the run of play with Lou City right now, it just takes that one moment. For Danny Cruz and his side, they're gonna keep pushing to find that equalizer before the halftime break, make this an even game. Obviously, you really enjoy finding 2 goals and taking the lead, but as this first half wears on,
LaCava in behind, LaCava cutting back, Williams looking across to Jennings, and cleared by Jimenez, but he was fouled by Jennings in the process. Eric, it's only been a couple of moments here where Louisville has come undone defensively, but you talk about their lack of efficiency at one end this season. Tampa Bay said 3 good looks, 1 was a goal, 1 hit the post, and that was your 3rd, and we're 18 minutes in.
Yeah, it's that relentless pursuit from the Rowdies. You see, again, starting with Jake LaCava there in the corner, playing that ball across, and Oscar Jimenez putting his body between the ball and Cal Jennings earning that foul there to get his team out of that scenario, but just shows that they're multi-dimensional in how they can attack you. They can do it in possession, but they can also win the ball higher up the field with their press.
Chance brewing here. Maris leaves it. Jimenez McCabe feeds it wide. Tellefson floats it. The header! The equalizer! Manny Perez ties it up in the 19th minute.
And it's so hard to ask teams to be patient in some of those moments where you hit the final third. But Lou City, a terrific job of recognizing how tight and how narrow the Tampa Bay Rowdies were in that moment. Patient, the link-up play, and then the ability to find this ball out wide. But then the delivery, and then the run, the timing, and then you have to have that final action. And Manny Perez, that final action, that header, equalizes for Lou City. After conceding that first goal, this has been a solid response from Danny Cruz and his side.
Heck of a time for the first goal of your season for Manny Perez. Goal presented by Kentucky Lottery, fueling imagination, funding education, Kentucky Lottery.
Danny Cruz is going to be pleased with that sequence because it was all about upgrading the opportunity and not just settling for a shot from 20 yards, 25 yards out, really continuing to poke and pry at different areas of the field and then finally finding that ball out wide.
Life into this game now, 20 minutes in, let off the hook maybe a couple of times by Tampa Bay, who could have taken the early 2-goal lead twice. Now Louisville again needing a win tonight to earn another home game next week. It would come against Memphis. Looking long for Harris, adventure time for Connor Sparrow. Only gets it as far as Maris, crowd screaming to shoot, he doesn't. Harris on the turn. Harris through the traffic, comes out to Ownby. Brian Ownby slices one across. Tellefson couldn't handle. And LaCava takes it away.
And this is a season that just continues to showcase what this playoffs are going to be like, because this is a playoff game right here. This is two teams that are asking different questions. You have to like the energy and how electric Lou City has been. Obviously not the scenario they wanted going down that early, but they have been terrific in terms of their pace of play, their match tempo. And what better way to get ready for the playoffs than facing off against a rival.
Some issues lately, Tampa Bay, with cleaning things up defensively. Nicky Law did mention part of that came in the time where he was back across the pond sorting out his visa before he could return to the team, and it sort of threw a wrench in everything. The stride that they felt they had reached took a little hitch and took them a little bit to get back on top of things, but give up an early goal here the way they did, all characteristic of what he believes this Tampa Bay team is when it's at its best. Adams up for Jimenez. Now Ownby. Curled in again toward the back post. Headed away. Chested down by Maris.
Lou City pinning the Tampa Bay Rowdies in their own half. You can see how deep Williams, Jennings, and LaCava are helping out defensively.
Driven ball in. Lasso gets it away. close to that 30-minute mark. That's when Danny Cruz felt that he would need to give his team a little bit more because they've waned at times around that mark. But happy to get back in the game.
It's another Wi-Fi corner kick.
Another Wi-Fi corner kick coming for Louisville. Swinger from Jimenez to the back post for Ownby. It's flicked away by Lasso.
Isolated 1v1 there on that far post. Forrest Lasso forced into conceding another corner. This is giving Lou City multiple looks at the Rowdies right now and how they want to set up and attack these set plays.
In swinger near post, and away by Williams. Now they want to get out in transition. Jennings, LaCava running out ahead. Jennings taken down from behind by Ownby, and the yellow's coming out of the pocket. First yellow card of the night brought to you by World of Beer.
Ryan Ownby, knowing that really had to take one for the team here, working back. He had to slow this ball down and prevent Cal Jennings from playing that ball through to Jake LaCava. For a team that's really worked itself back into this match after conceding early, the last thing you want to do is give up a counter-attacking moment on your own corner kick. So that tackle at midfield, one of those professional fouls, you get the numbers back behind the ball.
J.J. Williams, the goal 30 seconds in. That's what got Tampa Bay out to the lead. Now trying to get it back. By the way, a housekeeping note on that. Believe said it was a career-high 13th for him. Clarification, it's his 13th this year, so it all comps a career high. He tied his USL Championship career high, which was 12 last season. So career high all comps for J.J. Williams. Next one would be USL specific career high. Either way you slice it, it's been his most prolific goal scoring year, and it's coming off the heels of what was his most prolific goal scoring year last year with 12 between Tulsa and Phoenix. So that's a man right now who's finding his groove, or has found it, I should say. Not finding it, he's found it in USL Championship. 25 combined goals these last two seasons on a team next to Cal Jennings and next to LaCava. It's a scary thought for anybody trying to defend Nicky Law's Tampa Bay Rowdies come postseason time.
And a lot of the time when you see teams that are balanced offensively like the Tampa Bay Rowdies, it's the sacrifice that each player individually provides for each other, whether it's the pressing moment. You just saw Cal Jennings come from that right side all the way to the left side to go press, and even the goal for J.J. Williams was coming off the press. When you have players in attacking-minded situations like that where I'm going to work this hard to possibly get you a goal, you're going to get that back as well. You're going to get front three, you're going to get those forwards that work for each other and try to provide different moments. And that makes it incredibly difficult to defend.
Guillen up the wing, one back by Louisville. It's felt like they've been the first to every second ball. They have 71% of the possession, and they have a free kick here in a really advantageous position. Looks like the card's coming out of the pocket again as well. It was to Brian Ownby a moment ago on the Louisville side, and this one will belong to Jan Ekra. It appears once the referee checks on him. All yellow cards tonight brought to you by World of Beer.
And as you mentioned, this is all coming from winning initial contact, picking up that second ball, and Manny Perez driving at the Tampa Bay Rowdies defenders, earning a set piece here for his team. And the Tampa Bay Rowdies goal was so early that we didn't really get to see the energy and the momentum from Lou City as a whole in terms of what they were going to look up like and build up what they were going to look like in first and second balls. But we mentioned the terrific response from Lou City from conceding early, but the way that they are staying so compact defensively, they've got those lines really tight, putting them in really good position to not only challenge that first ball, but putting themselves in really good shape to attack Tampa Bay when they do regain possession.
Fifth Third Bank free kick here. Will it be McCabe with the outswinger or Jimenez with the inswinger? I feel like more and more we're seeing the inswinger become the flavor on a free kick like this. Just drive it right at the top of the six. All you need is a glancing header or maybe just a screen of the keeper and nobody gets a touch to it, goes in anyway.
And you definitely want to create a lot of traffic in front of Connor Sparrow.
It's going to be the outswinger of McCabe, and it's headed away. Nodded back down from Maris. Handball. 30 minutes in. Welcome to the fans watching this game on MyTV 58, the official broadcast home for Louisville City FC. Nicky Law sternly against resting guys in this game. Said they thought about it briefly because they've just had issues this year, despite all their success, where you miss a guy with a 2-week knock here, a guy with a 3-week knock there, and because of it, very rarely have they had their choice 11 all at once, as the whistle blows here with Kleeman brought down. But they had it last week, they have it now, and they felt that getting some continuity was important between the members of that 11 going into the postseason. And again, factoring in that the possibility is there to finish above every team in the West and guarantee a possible final would be in your building. So that's what went into the decision to play everybody tonight. That end, they don't like Louisville very much, and the feeling is reciprocated, and you always want to beat your rival. So all that factored in. Just stuff to keep in mind when you see, like moments ago when Jan Ekro went down after the foul he committed, or you just don't want to lose anybody. That's the last thing you want if you're Tampa Bay. You made the decision consciously to go ahead and go for it. The last thing you want is anybody to go down. First corner here for the Rowdies. Already 4 corners at the other end for Louisville. Plenty of big targets to get on the end of this one from Doherty. Floats it top of the 6. Williams tugged down. Still save made by Zemla. And the call was made for a penalty. You almost had to wonder why it wasn't made sooner. J.J. Williams completely dragged down. Still managed to get his head on it some way, somehow. And now they'll have a chance from 12 yards out.
J.J. Williams putting himself in a position on this corner to draw this penalty. And it does look like Forrest Lasso might have had a touch on that as well. And the contact that J.J. Williams incurs enough.
Yeah, the referee, Nabil Ben Salah, basically illustrated right now. He was hugging him, Kyle Adams. You could read the lips there. He was hugging him, he was saying. And he was. Now, you could argue that maybe J.J. was leaning into him a little bit, but he was grabbed by Adams. So now a chance for J.J. Williams to set his single-season USL Championship career high in goals at 13. The goal he scored earlier was his 12th in league play, 13th in all comps, which is a career high in one single year in all comps for J.J. So a chance to set the other career high now in just league goals. And a chance to restore the lead for the Rowdies. Williams for his second of the night, but he puts it over the bar.
J.J. Williams does a terrific job to earn himself the penalty kick, but just skies this one, puts it right over the crossbar, not even forcing Oliver Zemla into a save. You see the tackle there by Kyle Adams. Just getting underneath that finish. And Lou City regaining momentum, had to stay switched on that corner kick. Unfortunately, concedes the penalty kick, but this is another moment that can swing that energy back to Lou City. So you concede early, you have a missed penalty.
Back and forth, the tide of emotion here. Now everything feels like it's on the side of this Louisville team if they can go and get one before the break. That was another interesting area where we talked a bit with Danny Cruz. Statistical disparities for this Louisville team. 14 of their goals first half, 24 of their goals this year second half. Been a much better second half team, and they really just chalked it up to a case where it's a group that's veteran-laden, and they listen to all the adjustments at halftime, really take them to heart, and have just been a better second-half team. But also, for all the chances they create and some of their lack of finishing this year, at some point, quantity wins out, and it's just been happening in the second half where, all right, on the 13th shot you take, maybe one's going to go in. So a bit of both of those things as to why they've had such a heavy tilt towards scoring in the second half.
Correct, and that's why.
Good touch inside here by Jennings. Cal Jennings coming in alone, takes it too wide. Can he recover? Jennings goes for goal and finds it anyway. His 18th of the year. When you're hot, you're hot. And now Tampa Bay's up 2-1.
And he follows this terrific touch into space with a finish that puts his team up 2-1. And you thought for a moment that that second touch put him too far and at an angle that he wasn't going to beat Oliver Zemla, and allowing Lou City defenders get back in the picture. But as you mentioned, when you're hot, you're hot. And the deceptive movement here, you think he's out of the play, just to pull it back, and then the quick trigger there. But that first touch into space, leading himself past that Lou City back line. You talk about the ebbs and flows of matchups. I mean, Tampa Bay Rowdies, they score the early one. They have that moment from Jake LaCava where they hit the post. They have a couple other moments where they win possession higher up the field with their press, miss the penalty, and then now that goal by Cal Jennings. They're gonna feel like if they can fine-tune some of these details.
And they're looking for more. Here comes Jennings again. Cal Jennings, saved by Zemla. No, it caroms in. He got his leg to it, finds it anyway. The beneficiary of 2 deflections, Cal Jennings, and now he has 19 on the season.
And so much for what I was saying about fine-tuning details, because right away, they've moved past the early missed opportunities, the missed penalty, and they play a terrific ball into Cal Jennings to score the second one, and then this ball from J.J. Williams. And when you have explosive offenses like the Tampa Bay Rowdies do, it's when you first regain possession, you look at Tampa Bay Rowdies, their initial idea is to go forward. And that's where J.J. Williams, he picks the ball up at midfield, and he knows that Cal Jennings is looking for that progressive, positive run, picks out the runner, the shape, the tempo in which he plays it.
We'll never know, somewhere in a different parallel universe, where the first one would have ended up if not for the deflection off of Jimenez. That last angle we showed you there, that ball very well might have been going wide of the far post. Zemla gets a piece of it and it goes in. But when you're a 9, your job is to score goals. They don't tell you how to do it, you just have to do it. And he's done it now 19 times this year and twice tonight. And when they played back at Al Lang Stadium earlier this season, it was Jennings scoring in the 39th minute to give Tampa Bay a 1-0 lead into the half. Scores twice here in the final few moments before halftime to give Tampa Bay presumably a lead going into the half. And this is exactly what Danny Cruz wanted to avoid. He said that 30-minute mark is where they have to be careful against Tampa Bay. And they've scored twice after that 30-minute mark. Adams floats it. Caught up in the traffic. Kleeman comes away with it. Now Ekra.
So important for Lou City to push to find this second goal. I know that sounds extremely obvious when you're facing a 2-goal deficit, but if you can cut into this lead going into half, because you outlined the scenarios prior to kickoff, and this is a Lou City side that needs 3 points to jump Memphis for that 4th spot. So now you're staring at needing to score 3 goals to win this 4-3. And we've seen it throughout for the Tampa Bay Rowdies that they're not a team that necessarily gives up goals in bunches. So you need to steadily get back into this match and steadily find, you know, moments where you can convert. And scoring 3 goals in a second half is not impossible, but
set up here for Maris, looking through for Ownby. Louisville hasn't been a team this year either who scores goals in bunches. I mentioned Tampa Bay doesn't give them up in bunches. Louisville doesn't score them as frequently as they've done in past years. They've seen 3 a couple of times up in their goal column this year, never 4. So if they were to win this one tonight, it'd be their highest goal scoring output of the year. Gibson. Maris drives it ahead, looking for Harris. And the whistle blows against Harris for an offside.
And I want to go back to a terrific point you made earlier when we were talking to Nikki Law about wanting to really have that continuity, that consistency with the lineup and going into the playoffs. And I think there's 2 things to it. The injuries, as you mentioned, but some of the, you never want to have to navigate a season with that many injuries and having to ask so many questions of your side. But sometimes that builds those roles for players and that adaptability, the resilience. And now come playoff time, some of those players are fully prepared for the role that they might be asked to play in, because as you see in this matchup, you score early, Lou City takes all of the momentum, puts Tampa Bay Rowdies in the back foot. As you can see, this game really starting to heat up.
Yeah, Wilson Harris and Freddie Kleeman exchanging Halloween costume plans. Yellow card goes to Kleeman, brought to you by World of Beer. And this is where the rivalry sets in.
This ball in from Manny Perez, and
ooh, elbow came through. And that's why Wilson Harris was not happy, to say the least.
Yeah, you can see why Wilson Harris is so upset. Kleeman now on a yellow card.
It's always funny how that works. When a play like that happens, the players seemingly always end up right back next to each other there. As Harris was circling behind Kleeman, and they'll be on each other plenty tonight when you've got a 9 going up against the center back. So that'll be a fun one to watch for the remaining 47-odd minutes.
Yeah, it's that initial separation when the scenario gets heated, and then they're right back together just a few moments later.
We'll keep an eye on it. Ekra, Kleeman with yellows on the Tampa Bay side. Ownby with 1 on the Louisville side. Antley also picked up a yellow card within that, all brought to you by World of Beer. So yellow cards being doled out for fun right now. You have to credit the refereeing, though, because when you have a rivalry game like this, your best bet in controlling it is making sure the cards come out of the pocket. Otherwise, you let it fester, and it could get ugly. It could get ugly, I guess, either way, but it's going to be less so when you're giving out the yellow cards early.
Yeah, and making a statement with that yellow card to Kleeman, because obviously emotions are running high. Lou City going down 1 goal, getting back in the match at 1-1, and then conceding 2 goals quickly.
Maris over the bar. Tried to get one right back before the half. Not quite.
But those roles for Tampa Bay Rowdies and what Nicky Law was talking about with building that consistency heading into the playoffs is Tampa Bay has 11 different goal scorers on their side. And when we talk to them, I mean, you mentioned it earlier as we see the opportunity by Maris. Charlie Dennis available off the bench, 11 goals on the season. Obviously, we highlighted this success J.J. Williams is having. You just go down the list. Obviously, Forrest Lasso so dangerous on set pieces, corner kicks, any restart. Cal Jennings just continues to be hot.
He's been involved in all 3 of the goals, Jennings. Don't forget, he was the one who, on the high press, won the ball off of Toast that led to the Williams goal 30 seconds in. And then he scored the next 2 himself. Maris. 4 minutes of stoppage time brought to you by the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Ownby. Playing off for Tellefson. Looking wide for Perez, but cut off by Guillen. Taken quickly by Gibson. You can sense the urgency from Louisville. They're trying to get one before the half.
And in this game, and much like other sports, numbers don't always tell the whole story. Like you mentioned, the second half goals, it might just be from all the chances created. And as you mentioned, sometimes it just comes from the abundance of shots, and you're going to convert those. But every game has a story to tell, and for Lou City, this is going to be, if they can't find a second goal here to close out the first half, this is going to be a halftime that they're going to make some changes where they're going to have to become that explosive offense. They have that discrepancy in their first half goals to second half goals, so they're going to have to really push the tempo and possibly break this second half.
Looking for Harris, punched away by Sparrow. Williams looking for Jennings.
And really look for Lou City to break this second half into 3 15-minute periods almost, where you need 3 goals, attack the first 15, try to find that second goal, then that opens you up to find the equalizer, and then plenty of time to find the game winner possibly.
Scenario straightforward for Louisville again. If they win, they will host a playoff game next week, and it would be against Memphis. If they lose, there's a chance they do fall to 6th. Although, it depends how you want to characterize the chance. Indy's on the road against San Antonio, and Indy would have to beat San Antonio on the road a tall order if Louisville were to then fall from 5th into 6th. So as of now, they could play either Memphis or Charleston next week, and as of now, either would be on the road. Jennings came through looking for a 3rd in this half, but it's gathered by Zemla.
He consistently is a problem here in this first half. As you mentioned, the press that led to the first goal, his involvement in the 2 really build this bit of separation. But as we all know, 2-goal leads are really tough because try to start managing the game, and sometimes when you manage the game, you tend to sway away from some of the details that got you that lead. And the only reason I talk about picking up the tempo for Lou City is because of the outline that you just mentioned. Is they're really playing this match for 3 points. A 3-3 draw doesn't really move the needle in regards to pushing them into that 4th spot.
And we asked Danny Cruz about that scenario. If it was tied late on, would they push for the win and the home game, or would they be content with the tie that would at least clinch 5th over Indy, where a loss, again, Indy could pole vault them depending on what they do against San Antonio. And he said, look, we care about the home game, and that's it. Whether we're 5 or 6, doesn't matter to us. We want 4. So as this game goes along, look for them to try and push the envelope, whether it ends up costing them a 3-1 loss versus a 6-1 loss if they open up too much. Who cares?
Correct.
They need and want the win, and that's all that matters right now. Goal differential not part of the equation in any way. It is for tie-breaking purposes if you're looking at other games, but it doesn't pertain to anything that we're talking about tonight, the way the setup is. And there's the whistle to end a lively, to say the least, half number 1. Tampa Bay scores 30 seconds in, then they scored twice in 90 seconds. It was Williams first, then it was Jennings twice. Wrapped in there was a Manny Perez goal for Louisville. A 4-goal first half split 3-1 at Tampa Bay's way.
And no surprise, what we would expect from 2 top teams is each of them asking different questions, each of them regaining momentum in different areas of the first half. And for Tampa Bay Rowdies, finding an early goal and then finding 2 quick goals in succession. For Lou City, they have been really good in that final third in terms of finding a good balance between being patient and urgent, but they just gave away those 2 opportunities in just a few minutes.
Well, they need to win if they want a home game again next week, and it's going to be a difficult road back now. Halftime presented to you by Breeze Airways, nice, new, and nonstop. That's the Breeze way. Halftime show coming up in just a moment. Tampa Bay ahead by 2.
The long-awaited debate between Kentucky gubernatorial candidates Governor Andy Beshear and Attorney General Daniel Cameron is set for Monday, October 16th on WBKI.
Watch the Kentucky gubernatorial debate Monday, October 16th on WBKI. Stream it live on WDRB Plus or on WDRB.com.
We'll be asking key questions on issues like the economy, education, and public safety, so you get a better understanding how the winning candidate will lead Kentucky in 2024.
Commonwealth Credit Union's holiday celebration is back. This holiday season, you can earn not 1, not 2, but 3 points on every dollar you spend when you use my card to fill up your sleigh. Plus, use your credit or debit card with your mobile wallet for your chance to win $500 in our holiday celebration giveaway. There's a new winner every week. Non-purchase entries are available and have an equal chance of winning. But hurry, this celebration ends December 31st. Commonwealth Credit Union. Here, we see you differently.
This is Aaron. Aaron is responsible for prepping the stadium for Lou City game day. The grass is mowed, lines are painted, and the field is watered. Yeah, his team puts in a lot of work, transforming this into this. But weather can get in the way. So to ensure the crowd will be safe, they call Mark at WDRB for the official green light to play. Making the right call and keeping everyone safe. WDRB Weather, the source.
Fresh for everyone.
Welcome back into the Breeze Airways halftime show. Nice to do it nonstop. That's the Breeze way. And this game meant something for Louisville because of what happened last night with New Mexico taking down, really dismantling Memphis 901 by a 4-1 scoreline. It's because of that Louisville, with a win tonight, could have that home game next week. And really, Eric, New Mexico took it to them from the jump.
Set pieces, run a play, transition, you name it, New Mexico executed. And for Memphis, really tough loss. Now sitting at home, waiting and watching for this result to see if they host a first-round playoff game. But as you mentioned, right from the jump, New Mexico United. We saw both games last night in the USL Championship decided by 3 goals.
And as of right now, avert your eyes bottom left, it would still be Memphis hosting Louisville. Louisville would have to come back from down 3-1, win it tonight to flip that matchup. And then upper right, you've got Tampa Bay hosting Birmingham. This is all next week, and we can't wait. These are all terrific matchups here, especially when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of it all.
And Lou City playing a Memphis side that they've drawn and lost to. So we talk about how hard it is to play teams 3 times, and for Lou City, although albeit right now as it stands being on the road, still a matchup that they would probably like in terms of the revenge factor.
And if history is any indication, one of these two teams will be in the Eastern Conference Final. 6 straight conference titles won by one of these two clubs, and they've met each other in the last 3 in a row.
Yeah, and these two clubs don't talk about just making the playoffs. That's not what the standard is with these two organizations. It's making runs, and that's why you talk about home field advantage. We mentioned Lou City possibly going to Memphis in that first round game. Tampa Bay Rowdies hosting. It means that these two organizations want to make those runs, and you can see it by what they've done past and present. And they just continue to drive home that success.
Well, they've had plenty of 1-goal matchups as of late, 11 times now, as a matter of fact. It's not the case right now. Tampa Bay with a comfortable 2-goal lead. Sometimes that's the most dangerous one. At number 2, coming up in just a bit.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Back into the Breeze Airways halftime show. Louisville staring up at a 2-goal deficit, in danger of this perhaps being their final.
And we talk about goals changing games. They have a potent attack for themselves in terms of how timely their goals are. They can absorb pressure, but they can either beat you in transition or break you down in possession.
Now, maybe you think highly of them. Maybe you think they'll be playing the final on November 12th. And if that's the case, go to the bracket challenge and fill that thing out and drag Pittsburgh all the way over as your title winner. Now look around the scoreboard here from Judgment Weekend. Pittsburgh a 0-0 draw against Detroit City, which means later tonight when Miami takes on Sacramento, all Miami needs is 1 point to claim that 8th spot in the East.
And you wonder what Sacramento is going to look like tonight, but obviously you broke down what the points look like and home field advantage. So Sacramento still have a lot to play for, and to go all the way to the West Coast for Miami FC, it's not an impossible ask, but it's a very tough ask. But they have everything to play for to make that final playoff spot.
You hit the nail on the head. If Tampa Bay continues the way they are tonight and they win this game against Louisville, Sacramento later tonight must beat Miami. There you see on the right side. Sacramento must beat Miami in order to leapfrog Tampa Bay. And again, we're talking about the overall standing here for possible hosting of a title game. The big one tonight is Oakland and El Paso in the West. A true play-in game. Oakland must win to get in. They're currently in 9th. El Paso sitting in 8th. They need either a win or draw to hold on for 8th place. So it all comes down to that one in the West, and it all comes down to these final 45 minutes here at Lynn Family Stadium to determine whether they might be the final 45 at Lynn Family Stadium this season. Louisville must win to host the game next week. Second 45 is on the way in just a bit.
Did you know taking care of your teeth and gums helps control blood sugar levels? A healthy smile means a healthier you. We can help you get there. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensendental.com. Did you know taking care of your teeth and gums helps lower your risk of heart attack? A healthy smile means a healthier you. We can help you get there. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensendental.com.
Well, he's at the wrong park, but you know what? He roots for winning teams, and right now that means he'll be on the Tampa Bay Rowdies side, who are up 3-1 on Louisville City FC. Can they rally back here in the second half? We'll take a look at highlights from half number one. And Eric, it was maybe just a case of Louisville on the wrong end of some bad luck in that half by and large, but it was their own fault right out of the gate.
Yeah, we knew we were going to have a good game on our hands, but we didn't know we were going to get a start like this, and this was just indicative of what the first 45 would be for Tampa Bay Rowdies, and I mean it in the relentless pressure that you're seeing from Cal Jennings, JJ Williams, and Jake LaCava. The turnover from Sean Tosh, JJ Williams steps up to take this penalty kick, and this was after just a few chances from Tampa Bay that could have made it two, and then skies this penalty opportunity. Lou City staying at 1-1, but then just as quickly as this, helping this ball on, JJ Williams, Cal Jennings, that first touch, brilliant, taking him to space. You almost think that prep touch takes him away from frame, putting him in a really difficult situation, an angle, but still finds a way. A couple deflections later, finds the back of the net, and then it didn't take very long for JJ Williams to find Cal Jennings again. And just as the first, that initial touch, just so purposeful, so progressive, so positive, setting himself up, putting his team up 3-1.
Take a look at the stats from that first half, brought to you by Paymasters. Shots are just about equal, but it's, again, the shots on target that sort of erase the possession disparity that you see.
And I said before the break that Danny Cruz would be happy with the moments and the sequences that his team are finding in the final third, but you want to start converting those two shots on target. We talked about their equalizer being an own goal on Kleeman. So finding that final action, finding that moment, the possession, absolutely dominant from Lou City, but now they need to start converting that into goals.
This team, again, needs to win, so they're going to make some changes here out of the gates. Carlos Mogul on for Tyler Gibson, and a welcome back for Enoch Mushigalusa. You'll remember that he was sent to San Diego with Kyle Adams coming back this way in simultaneous loans. It wasn't technically a trade, one for the other, just a loan swap of sorts, but the loan was released from San Diego for Mushigalusa just before the roster freeze. So he comes back to Louisville, eligible for the postseason, and now back out there for the first time since July for his club.
There's one thing that Tampa Bay Rowdies are gonna have to take account for and be very careful is, not only is this Lou City side have the potential and the ability to get back in this game and be dangerous, but when you're playing a team, you mentioned it, they need 3 points to climb to fourth. This is a team that's gonna play this second 45 with a lot of desperation and a lot of urgency. So that's sometimes the hardest thing to account for is being thrown everything in a 45-minute span. But Tampa Bay Rowdies did a good job in that first 45 of absorbing some of the pressure that Lou City put them under, and then picking two dynamic moments and creating those two goals.
And we're underway now in half number two. Tampa Bay right to left in their neon, and Louisville left to right in their black. Happy to have you with us this evening with the coach Eric Dobransky. I'm Joe Malfa. Tampa Bay is set in second in the East. A win would mean, coupled with a Sacramento loss or draw later tonight, that if they make the final, they would host by virtue of being on more points than anybody in the West. So if they win, they put the pressure on Sacramento tonight. Louisville must win if they want to host a playoff game next week. Perez, handed away by Kleeman. To your point, with Louisville showing the urgency and going for the win with nothing to lose here. This could be 3-3 or 4-3 in Louisville's favor. It could just as easily be 6-1 in Tampa Bay's favor if it swings too much in the other direction as they open up. Either way, we expect a lot more goals in the second half, and we expect a lot more of the rivalry to start bubbling over as well after what we saw in the first. And we wait about a minute for the yelling and the shouting for cards and the fouls to start here in half number 2.
And for Lou City, and this is a credit to what Tampa Bay Rowdies did throughout that first 45, was, and we've already seen Tellefson come off and the introduction of Mushagalusa, but we really didn't speak of Wilson Harris or Tellefson there in that first 45. Really good job of screening passes, those entry passes into both of those players from Tampa Bay. But there's no question that Lou City is going to want to get Wilson Harris on the ball, those entry passes in those dangerous areas.
They want to get Cal Jennings in dangerous areas too. If you're Tampa Bay, he's 1 goal from tying for the Golden Boot lead of 20. And if he gets 2 in the second half, that Golden Boot will be his. They don't all come the same way. As we showed you, there's a decent chance. You'd have to really slow it down and look at it under a microscope. It's possible his first shot was going wide of the near post, if not for the deflection, and his second shot was going wide of the far post, if not for Oliver Zemla getting a piece of it and redirecting it. But they both went in. It's 3-1, and he's got 19 on the year. And he'll tell his grandkids one day that both were upper 90 from 30 yards out.
Those stories are the best. They seem to get grander and grander, but you can't score if you don't shoot, and that's what Cal Jennings
Perez looking through for Mushagalusa all the way through.
Continues to do for Tampa Bay is create those opportunities. And you've seen it already to start the second half, the relentless press, that pressure that the Tampa Bay Rowdies are looking to put on Lou City, not allow them to build out of the back and build through those thirds.
First 2 at Kyle Adams.
And we spoke about form a bit in the first half in regards to every team wants to be trending in the right direction going into playoff time. And you have a Memphis side that took the 4-1 loss to New Mexico United. Now, obviously, the result that's we're seeing right now, obviously still a lot of game left. But you can look at your full season and pick different games, look at more complete performances, look at performances offensively that you liked, defensively that you liked. But human nature always takes you back to your most recent performances. So I think that's where they're going to want to continue to stack plays, stack moments, and finish this 45, clearly trying to find 3 goals and pick up 3 points. But you're also going to want to continue to build to what kind of matchup you have next weekend. And that's the same thing for Tampa Bay Rowdies, is making sure that they find a good balance between seeing this game out, but not being casual in that, because this is a scenario that will undoubtedly play itself out in a playoff situation later on. You'll be up a goal, down a goal, up 2 goals, down 2 goals.
Just a reminder there, the substitutions at the half for Louisville, all brought to you by Fortinup. An old goal for Gibson and Mushagalusa for Tellefson. Sent in toward Wilson Harris. Looping header off target. A couple of times now he's gotten into open space, but hasn't been able to really rein it in and get that good look at goal.
And we've already seen him on the ball more than we really saw him on the ball in the first half. And that first half saw a lot of it where Lou City was playing on the front foot and being aggressive and urgent in the final third. So really, in that first 45, Wilson Harris was just occupying defenders, working in between the center backs, creating some space for his teammates. But now in this second half, it's going to be very, very important for them to do what Tampa Bay did with Cal Jennings, is finding moments and picking moments that they can get Wilson Harris isolated, 1v1 in the box, in those goal-scoring opportunities and areas.
Jimenez and McCabe. Put it out wide for Ownby. Brian Ownby trickles out for a throw. Ownby will end this regular season with 20 starts. Had a career-high 10 goals with 4 assists last year. Matched the assist total for now. Sitting on 4, but only 3 goals after the 10 he scored last year. And that's just part of a larger theme for this Louisville team. All numbers down, 2023 versus 2022. Perez looking for Harris. Lasso gets it away. All the way back for Tosh.
Talk about numbers being down. I mean, that's one of the most frustrating and difficult things to explain if you're a part of the coaching staff, if you're part of the team that is just not seeing that final product, because you're creating, and creating is a lot of the battle, is the combination play, the link-up play that unlocks space, the services, the entry balls. But when you're missing that final action, that final detail, and you can't pinpoint exactly what's going to help that snowball in a positive direction,
Tosh works it back for Zemla. Tosh, barring an injury or a red card here down the stretch, will play every minute this season. One of 4 players around the league who can do that here tonight. Other 2 being opposing goalkeepers later. Eddie Diaz of El Paso, Paul Blanchette of Oakland. They could do it, as well as Maury Donor of Monterey Bay. So it could be the 4 Iron Men of the 2023 season. And for Tosh, with all the minutes he's played this year, it's helped him climb the all-time leaderboard in minutes in USL Championship. Coming into the night, number 6 all-time. He's got a ways to go to catch Taylor Muller at number 5. He's well clear now. Fanuel Cavita, Alex Dixon, Justin Portillo, some other active players who were nipping at his heels. Helps when you play every minute of a season. Shigalusa, wowing the crowd a bit, welcoming him back to a nice ovation when he took the field. And it's out for another Louisville throw. They continue to dominate the possession, but they still don't technically have a shot on target now that the goal was switched to a Kleeman own goal instead of Perez. So they have a goal tonight, but no shots on target of the 6 they've taken. And a possession advantage of 70-30. To be here in the 55th minute, 70% of the possession and not a shot on target. That speaks to the larger issues they've had this year in the attacking end.
And we can talk about chances created, final actions, composure and detail in the final third. But that doesn't speak to how difficult it is to get back into a game that you're down 2 goals, because when you have a team, whether it's in the playoffs, regular season like tonight, when you're facing a 2-goal deficit, I mean, it just gives the ability for the opponent to absorb a lot of different scenarios, to concede some moments that typically they wouldn't want to concede if the game is 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, or tight.
Jennings, 2 goals already, trying to feed LaCava.
So you can see that Tampa Bay is conceding some space, but just getting numbers back behind the ball.
Slip through for Wilson Harris. End line, Harris cuts it back, plays it across. Nobody making that trailing run.
They're making Lou City have to do something special there in that final moment, because you could see when that ball goes wide or Lou City breaks into the final third, they are quickly getting numbers back behind the ball and dropping right in front of frame, asking Lou City to present something different there, and Wilson Harris playing that ball across and hoping that one of his teammates was there around that penalty spot area, but all the runners had committed to going deeper to the end line, and that's where Lou City's gonna have to find something different, present a new challenge, whether it's breaking them down on the dribble, moving defenders, manipulating space.
Free kick on the way for Tampa Bay. A yellow card is attached to it for Kyle Adams. And right now, you've got this Louisville team pressing for 4th place, yes, but they've also slipped to 6th. Indy early going, first 15 minutes. They're up 1-0 on the road against San Antonio. That's a San Antonio team that needs the win, jockeying for positioning 2 through 4 right now in the West. But Indy could jump Louisville. And again, we talked to Danny Cruz about it. They're playing for the win. They don't really care about a tie tonight, whether they're 5th or 6th. They wanted 4th. They've got a long road back to 4th. Would have to score 3 times. Only a win tonight would get Louisville that home game next week. If you want to take it a step further, though, and these are the conversations you start to have when we're sitting here on decision day for 2 teams that don't need any deciding. They're both in. Start weighing the options. If you're Louisville, you might be looking at this and saying, playing Charleston instead of Memphis might not be the worst thing in the world, especially the way things have gone lately against Memphis going back to last year and even this year. Memphis has had their number, and meanwhile, this Louisville team has had a bit of success against the Charleston team that's younger and getting back to the playoffs under Ben Pierman. But how about that, though? Ben Pierman, Danny Cruz, little spat they had earlier this year. That could be the playoff matchup. So all things you start thinking about now, or maybe you do want that added motivation of taking on the guy who's sort of become your rival in Ben Pierman if you're Danny Cruz. So all things you start thinking about now when the options are laid out in front of you.
It is, and by the way, the turnaround, Ben Pierman and Charleston Battery, one of the best turnarounds in USL Championship history in terms of being out of the playoffs and then now being a 3rd seed. But you're absolutely right. If you can't get 3 points and put yourself in that 4th spot, you do maybe start looking at those matchups. I mean, you can't necessarily, I mentioned the results against Memphis earlier this season, the draw and the loss. 2 draws against Charleston this season as we see a ball played into Ownby.
Ownby centers, wins a corner, brought to you by Wi-Fi.
And this will be a really good opportunity because I think set pieces and corner kicks, restarts are gonna be a way that Lou City can get one of these 2 goals back. But you're absolutely right, going back to that point is you look at that matchup and possibly like that a bit better than going to Memphis.
At the hour mark now, rifled toward the back of the 6. It's all the way out for a Louisville throw.
But I guess nobody has it. Sorry to cut you.
No, Charleston hasn't beaten Louisville since 2018. A lot of draws mixed in there. Louisville wins, but it's been since 2018 that Charleston hasn't beaten Louisville. Memphis has won 2 out of the last 3 against Louisville. So you start thinking about those things maybe, and maybe it's not the worst thing to be number 6 against Charleston instead.
It is, and right before you said that, I was about to say that there's a Lou City side that hasn't finished any farther than 4th in the East. But with those kind of numbers, again, you look at maybe possibly preferred matchups, and
in the bracket setup that we showed you earlier as well, if they fall to the 3-6, they're on the other side where they would match up again with Tampa in the next round. So Tampa Bay, Louisville possibly in the 2nd round, and you avoid a potential matchup with number 1 Pittsburgh in the 2nd round. So all things you start toying with, but maybe it's not the worst thing to go to the other side of the bracket.
And when we spoke to Danny Cruz, and you speak to coaches throughout the USL Championship, they all consistently talk about how difficult this playoff run is going to be because of how solid and each team presents different challenges. And you can't, the seeding matters because obviously the matchups, home field advantage, having to play on the road. But you don't doubt that somebody can go on the road and upset a team early.
Another corner on the way now for Louisville. You see Charlie Dennis there, center your picture, number 14. Came on for Jan Ekrup. Also brought to you by Fortnite. Half an hour to go. Louisville needs 3. Tie would get them back into 5th place, yes, but they're more concerned with the win and 4th place, and if they fall to 6th, so be it. Handed away by Lasso. How many times have we said that tonight? Time after time, heroic defending from the 2-time USL Defender of the Year.
He heard me say that Lou City might be able to get back in on corner kicks and restarts, and he's made it a point in the last 2 corners for Lou City to make that initial contact and emphatically deny any opportunity that Lou City had in that first wave of pressure, and not even allowing a second or third wave.
Kleeman. And this is Tampa Bay in lockdown mode. As good as they've been when they're at their best this year defensively, again, minus that one, whatever you want to call that little stint in there from September, early September to late September, when they were missing Nicky Law away, getting his visa sorted out. If you want to call it a hiccup, if you want to call it a stumble, it wasn't really that. They still weren't bad defensively. It was more uncharacteristic, but this is what they can do. They just constrict you, and Sparrow has it again.
Yeah, back-to-back games in September where total they conceded 7 times. The 3-3 draw at San Antonio, and then the 4-2 loss at home against Memphis.
Slip through for Hilton. Looking long for LaCava. He's on the end of it. Jennings makes his move toward goal. LaCava will like that one back, and it's out for a goal kick. Louisville don't miss any of the action at Lynn Family Stadium in 2024 by becoming a season ticket member for both Lou City and Racing Louisville FC. Along with exclusive membership benefits, you'll save 10% off your season ticket price and enjoy the rest of the 2023 season for free. Tickets are available at loucity.com/tickets.
And we've seen, especially in the Eastern Conference, some of these top teams, maybe other than Pittsburgh, have spells where they've conceded a lot. I mean, we just talked about Charleston. They took a 7-0 defeat earlier on in the season at home against San Antonio. Sometimes those louder results speak volumes to really fine-tuning and getting your team back to those details that eventually get them to those successful moments. And for Tampa Bay, you look at those back-to-back, you giving up 3 goals, then 4 goals. You start to look at different areas and fix those, as we see the foul on Omby. Have to stay switched on this restart.
Doherty standing over it. Doherty toward the back post. And it away by Tosh in the mix. Comes back out to Doherty. Taken down again, but won cleanly by Louisville. And now they want to break. Mushagalusa Ownby calling for it already. Mushagalusa running with Ownby, tried to play it through. And it's Hilton who breaks it up.
Had the right idea, just unable to execute that final pass. And as you mentioned, Brian Ownby right away calling for that ball, and you almost thought that Mushagalusa.
Curled in again by Mushagalusa, this time looking for Harris, but Sparrow with it.
Held it just long enough to get Brian Ownby even closer to goal, but just unable to shape it into the path of Brian Ownby. And even on that service, see Wilson Harris was pleased. Niall McCabe at the bottom of the screen, almost asking that Mushagalusa slip that ball into him.
Tampa Bay starting to chip away at Louisville's possession advantage. Team up 2 goals. Like to end the season on a high. Lost last week against Pittsburgh, left a sour note where this Tampa Bay team wanted to erase that, get back on track. And they thought that Louisville would be the best test possible for them to do just that. On the road, tough place to play against a team that has become your rival, has become your equal in the Eastern Conference over the last few years.
It is clear that the Tampa Bay Rowdies are absorbing different moments and picking and choosing when they want to commit numbers going forward. Yet to record a shot here in the second half. This is a team that knows that if you concede the second, just put your team under a lot more stress to close this game out.
Given away. Jennings on the run with Williams. Cal Jennings looking for his hat trick, and it's a corner.
And it looked like early on, and here's this pressure again from Cal Jennings, and it looked like he had J.J. Williams earlier. He could have slipped a ball in between Kyle Adams and Sean Tosh, but elects to keep driving, taking the shot himself, but earning a corner kick here.
Martin Powell's for Brian Ownby. Cam Lancaster for Niall McCabe. 2 subs brought to you by Fortna. As Louisville continues to bring on the attacking pieces in search of 3 goals. Dropped in top of the 6. Perez gets ahead to it. Kept alive by Antley. Back for Guillen. Somehow they get it wide for Doherty, who originally took the corner. Doherty, another service over the head of Jennings. Out for Dennis, wants to get it onto his left foot if he can. He has done it. Looking for a lane. Dennis slides it across for Guillen. Guillen driven ball through. Tampa Bay wants a 4th. They want this one out of reach entirely. Harris gets it into some traffic, and Antley wins it.
And let's see what the introduction of Cam Lancaster and Powell's does for Lou City. You talk about the matchups, the standings. We talked about the form in which both these teams want to go into the playoffs, trending in that direction, and getting 20-plus minutes for players like Mushagalusa, Powell's, Lancaster. These are players that you talk about playing with confidence and rhythm. Get that trending in that direction. As we see Cam Lancaster getting a talking to from the referee from his foul on Forrest Lasso.
Tonight's attendance is 12,230.
12,230 announced here tonight at Lynn Family Stadium. 12,230. We're hoping this wouldn't be the final game, and in theory, it still might not be. You have to go through some more mental gymnastics to find a way back to Lynn Family Stadium this year, though, if they are going in the playoffs as a sixth-place team, which would be the case right now with Indy ahead of San Antonio. You would need, of course, either Birmingham in 7th or either Miami or Detroit in 8th to make a run to meet you in that Eastern Conference Final to find another game this year at Lynn Family Stadium. Otherwise, this is it for the 12,230. No strangers to making a run from a lower position in the table. Louisville, 2019, made the final as the 4 seed. They're so used to doing it with other teams coming to Lynn. Powell's looking for an option, just nobody open right now in the box. Goes back to Perez. Cut through, looking for Lancaster. And Hilton's the first to it. Jennings clears.
When you look at teams that are consistently dangerous, like both of these teams, it's the commitment to getting numbers in the box, and you see it for Lou City.
Perez gets it in front, chested down and volleyed over the bar by Maris.
These two teams don't necessarily always rely on isolated attacks. I know the 2 goals from Cal Jennings in the first half are a bit more of a ball played in, and then him driving past that back line, but you see what Lou City's trying to do here in the second half, and it's definitely not for the lack of trying. You saw when Powell's received the ball at end line, Wilson Harris immediately finding that near post run. You saw Cam Lancaster committed there. You saw wave after wave, but just unable to reestablish new space.
Down by Antley, back for Kleeman, and all the way for Sparrow. This Tampa Bay team is going to be very tough to beat come playoff time. It'll be interesting if they do go toe-to-toe with Pittsburgh, coming off that 2-0 loss to Pittsburgh last week, how things go. But all the firepower they have offensively, their outstanding track record defensively, I feel this could be the year. They've been saying that for a few years, but you go back and you look at each of those teams, you can make the case this is the deepest and most complete and the healthiest. There's been times late in seasons the last couple of years where they've been missing somebody important at a crucial time. One thing you could say about this second half, maybe the tempers haven't flared the way we expected them to between the two rivals and the way the first half went.
Yeah, Lou City has been fully concentrated on trying to find that second goal. Tampa Bay's just really shut down moments. Seeing this game out really well. Given up some opportunities, but you can't look at any for Lou City that have been clear cut here in this second 45.
Leo Fernandez is about to come on for J.J. Williams. It's a story in and of itself. Fernandez tore his Achilles preseason, came back last week. We weren't really expecting him back at any point this season. Jake Arman, the other player, set to come on now for Tampa Bay. A dual swap on the way. Perez keeps it in. Lancaster funnels it back to Maris, looking for Mushagalusa. Comes off the arm of Perez. As J.J. Williams departs, he'll do so with 1 goal to his name. It came 30 seconds in.
It was a tremendous start. The pressure by Cal Jennings poking this ball into J.J. Williams. You have such a prolific goal scorer as J.J. Williams. That is a scary sight. He had a chance at converting a penalty midway through that first half as well, a penalty that he had earned. But the havoc that front three of Williams, LaCava, and Jennings have created tonight turned some of the more simple moments for Tampa Bay into some dangerous opportunities.
Yeah, we might see some of that physical play ramp back up in the late stage with this game seemingly in hand. Lancaster picks up a World of Beer yellow card. Maybe just subtle reminders in case these teams meet again down the line.
And the referee talking to Cam Lancaster, saying he just spoke to him a few moments ago with the foul on Forrest Lasso. As you mentioned earlier, the second half hasn't seen any heated exchanges, any tempers flare. But you'll definitely see some of that from Tampa Bay if they continue with this 2-goal lead and talk about wanting to go into the playoffs healthy and fully available.
Getting Fernandez back as an option off the bench is what it seems to be. They don't think he's at a spot where he can go really more than 30 yet, but he's proved them wrong every step of the way, so why not maybe think about getting him to the starting lineup at some point if need be. Again, when he tore that Achilles back before the season began, for all intents and purposes, they thought he was done for the year. All of a sudden, started clearing some benchmarks. Perez takes a deflection here, headed back toward goal by Hilton. Mogul on the volley. And that'll do it for that attack, but every step of the way started clearing benchmarks. And when Nicky Law first took over back in the summer, it was still no, he's done for the year. You look at some articles that came out early September from local media in Tampa Bay, it was still no, he's done for the year. And then all of a sudden, the mentality of the player kicked in. Started feeling good, cleared medically, and they gave him the option. Do you want to just save yourself for next year, or do you want to come back? You can't give a player that option because a competitor 10 times out of 10 is going to want to come back. And sure enough, last week, final home game of the year for Tampa Bay, regular season at least, makes his appearance, 34 minutes. Tough place to do it against Pittsburgh, top defensive team in the East, but started to show that he does belong and he is back. And when you're talking about a team that already has Dennis, Jennings, LaCava, Williams, all guys who are double-digit scorers in this league or have been. In the case of LaCava, this year came back from Inter Miami, didn't have a chance to hit that benchmark, but now you're adding Fernandez, who's an MVP, into the mix, and it's a very deep attack for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the drive, the determination for the reigning USL Championship MVP. Get back, and I think the way that they're introducing him is terrific. Getting him 30 minutes, getting him 10 minutes here. Why not build some of that momentum heading into the playoffs? You have a player that scored 19 goals, 9 assists. You already have such a potent attack.
Player who used to be part of the potent attack for this team, Sebastian Guenzati, well, he just scored again for Indy. It's 2-0 Indy on the road against San Antonio nearing halftime. San Antonio still needs that game as they jockey for position in the West. Indy, with that result coupled with this one, would jump past Louisville, and it would be Louisville traveling to Charleston next week. Jennings going for goal, wide of target. Doesn't get the luck of a bounce that time, the way the first two shots might have been going wide of target as well, but deflected on in.
He has just been incredibly active all night with the press on the ball. As you mentioned, why not throw that in front of goal and see what happens?
Harmon picks up a World of Beer yellow card. Tosh. Perez. Perez the service. After a 4-goal first half, I don't know if we thought we'd see a goalless thus far second half. But Tampa Bay has really just put everybody behind the ball. There's even been a few instances, Eric, where you've seen Cal Jennings, top of the box, launch a clearance down, and you realize, oh wait, you're supposed to be on the end of that. And now here they go. Oh, the whistle stops it. A late foul call. Fernandez thought it was a 2-on-0. For a guy who just came back last week from a torn Achilles, he thought he was going to have his first goal here on the final day of the season.
And Leo Fernandez thought he had picked the pocket clean there. And it looked like the referee had just turned away for a split second. And that being the reason for the late whistle. But this has just come to define this performance by Tampa Bay, the relentless pressure, and that's a foul. And I know Leo Fernandez is not gonna like to hear it, and he's disappointed that that's called back.
You look at the body language of Cal Jennings there, you can see it was a foul. Jennings started walking toward it instead of joining Fernandez in the attack. Sometimes the players themselves will give you the context clues that you need.
Yeah, I think, and the surprise that you see from Leo Fernandez is that it was so late.
Lancaster, why not?
Seen him hit a few from that distance in his career.
Ariel Martinez getting ready to come on now for this Tampa Bay side. Lancaster, second time it's blocked in rapid succession. Paulo Del Piccolo getting ready to come on now for Louisville. Lancaster. Perez. And a goalward by Harris over frame. Start wondering, at his age, Paulo Del Piccolo, this could be his goodbye to Lynn Family Stadium now that there might not be another one this year for Louisville. What a history he has brought this club.
You had talked about Sean Tosh earlier, the minutes that he's playing every minute this season. And then you also look at a player like Del Piccolo, such a professional, and the way they approach the game, the preparation, the teammates they are. I mean, there's just no question on why they're having the careers they've had. And as you mentioned, this is a player that has done so much for this team, this organization.
As the captain's armband now was just given to him. The team is going to go on the road next week. As of right now, it'd be against Charleston. San Antonio comes back to at least tie Indy. It's 2-0 Indy still. And it would be Memphis for Louisville. Here's Harris. Lasso gets the better of him again, and more. Terrific defending from Forrest Lasso. Martinez looking for Jennings. Adams gets his boot in right in the nick of time. There it is, officially at halftime. Indy, San Antonio. San Antonio did just face a 2-0 deficit at the half a couple of games ago on the road against Oakland. Went on the tie at 2-2, so I know a thing or two about coming back. Won't go ahead and say that game is done and dusted yet when you're on the road against the reigning champs, but if Indy can hold on, they would be the 5 seed and traveling to Memphis. They could end the season on a 3-game winning streak. Indy 11 beat Detroit, beat Tulsa. Now possibly San Antonio. Have to start looking at those things. Who's entering the postseason hot, who's not. Charleston backing in, back-to-back losses. Pittsburgh hasn't lost in forever, seemingly. Tampa Bay, this would be 3 wins out of 4 with their lone loss coming against Pittsburgh. Memphis has been up and down. Thrashed last night on the road against New Mexico. Indy hot, 3 wins in a row possibly. Louisville as up and down as it gets. Their last 5 games, win, loss, draw. Here's Powell's. Mushagalusa couldn't get there. Never heard the footsteps from behind. Throw Birmingham, by the way, into that hat. 2 straight wins entering the postseason, so he picked it up right at the last moment. Wins over Memphis and Monterey Bay. Memphis a playoff team, Monterey Bay very well could have been. Right there in the thick of it till last night.
It's Birmingham's side that has taken both games against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. 2-0 win back in April. Then a 1-0 result in July. So we see this on Powell's. These restarts are going to be taken with a lot of patience from Tampa Bay Rowdies. They just want to see this game out.
Free kick on the way for the Rowdies. 2 housekeeping notes. Actually, wasn't quite at the half yet. Late in stoppage time, Indy and San Antonio. Now it's 2-1 Indy. San Antonio pulled one back and had it flipped. It was 1-0 Charleston over Birmingham tonight, not the other way around. So Charleston did get back on track after a couple of losses, and Birmingham, after a couple of wins, did suffer a loss to the Charleston team. All the results coming in quickly here on the last day of the season. I really think if you injected some truth serum into Danny Cruz and this Louisville side, they'd prefer Charleston and the 6th seed. Memphis has had their number as of late. Charleston, a younger team. This was sort of year 1 of their retool or rebuild, however you want to characterize it. And then you've got that history between Danny Cruz and Ben Pierman as of late. I think deep down inside, and again, for a team that has lost 2 of 3 going into the postseason in Charleston, I think that's the team you'd rather have if you're Louisville.
But it would have to face off against another explosive offense. You talk about Fidel Barajas, you talk about Augie Williams, Markanek. You have explosive attacking players on that Charleston side as well, and something that Lou City is going to have to look back at this matchup, and it's going to be fascinating. And obviously, we're not going to be in those meetings and in those talks, but the approach of these results leading into the playoffs, because Danny Cruz and his side, obviously not the result that they were looking for, with the potential of hosting that first round, and really with the result tonight and then the Indy 11 game right now, it looks like they can go from playing for 4th to 6th. But it's a little cliche in terms of, and I'm going to say it anyways, is the playoffs is a brand new season. It's a clean slate. What's happened in the past is the past, and now you can really make your own history moving forward. But you do need to recognize what you need to grow from and the details that need to help you find success in the playoffs. And for Tampa Bay Rowdies,
Perez, nifty move, now the strike taken, and it finds the netting. Maybe some hope at the last for Louisville.
And just a spectacular strike. The decisiveness, the location. We saw Cam Lancaster take one earlier, just as he had subbed on just a few moments after being introduced into the game. But those are distances that, and areas of the field, the shape on the ball, what we've come to expect from Cam Lancaster in those opportunities.
2 minutes remaining of the 4 given in the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport stoppage time. Can they find 2 more? That's what they need. Remember, a draw wouldn't get them the home game they want, although a draw would get them back into 5th place, regardless of what happens between Indy and San Antonio. Another Wi-Fi corner kick. Always late drama with these teams. Touched on it early. Crazy things happen first 20, 30 minutes between these teams and the last 30. Middle 30 is always the lull. Now from the corner to the back post and snatched by Sparrow. Could keep this streak going at least. Make it 12, decided by 1 goal or less. Courtesy of Cameron Lancaster. Yeah, Connor Sparrow toying with the fans here.
That's where Tampa Bay Rowdies have been. They've been really good throughout this 90 minutes. But those corner kicks, those restarts, they've been really secure, whether it's Forrest Lasso making that initial contact, or there you see Connor Sparrow meeting at its highest point, and now they're going to have to deal with a really difficult free kick here. This will be a different look than Lou City has had throughout this match. They had one earlier from that wide lane in the first half on the right side. Now you see Jimenez, Mogul Jr. over this ball.
We've had some terrific goals. We had a missed penalty. Now it's raining. This game has had it all. How about a late equalizer here for Louisville? Send these fans home happy in what could be the final game at Lynn Family Stadium in 2023. Floated over the top to the back post, and they'll have a corner now. Tie could still get them 5th place. It's only a win that would get them home field next week. I don't think they have enough time to get 2 more goals, but can they at least jump back to 5th from 6th? Mogul, low-driven ball. It's knocked away. Mogul a second chance at it. Better service this time. Headed away by Lasso. Still alive, Jimenez sends it back in, cleared further away this time. It's Jennings who got there. Look where Zemla is to keep this attack alive. We're a minute beyond stoppage time now. Piccolo wanted it. Tampa Bay found it, and there's the final whistle. 2 rivals play another classic, finishes 3-2. Tampa Bay now has a chance to host the final if Sacramento drops points tonight, and Louisville, for the time being, has fallen to 6th place in the East and would take on Charleston next week, all coming down to the wire here on decision day.
And this game did not disappoint. Obviously, it was a late goal by Cam Lancaster that made it even more interesting. But what we would come to expect from two playoff-bound teams, asking questions, but also problem solving and coming up with answers. Lou City falling behind early, pushing, getting the equalizer 1-1, and then Tampa Bay just finding two special moments.
Tonight's final score brought to you by Gorski Law Office. Tampa Bay 3, Louisville 2. It was a fun one, as it tends to be when these teams meet. We wrap it up from Lynn Family Stadium in just a moment.
At Kroger,
it's game time, baby. Are you ready? 'Cause I'm ready. It's game time. It's game time. It's game time. 'Cause it's game time. 'Cause it's game time.
Postgame is presented to you by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. A 3-2 win for the Rowdies on the road against Lou City FC. Gets the Rowdies back on track after last week's loss against Pittsburgh, and it puts Louisville in a precarious position now going into the playoffs, possibly as the 6th seed. We'll look back at the full-time highlights.
Fast start for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and here's Cal Jennings influencing all 3 goals for Tampa Bay, and someone that Lou City is not going to want to see again this season. 4 goals total against Lou City, Cal Jennings has, and has had the game winner in both those matchups. This was the own goal by Clement, the service in from Lou City, and then J.J. Williams being brought down by Kyle Adams, skying the penalty miss, and we thought that that might have been the momentum shift for Lou City, but it just took this help from J.J. Williams helping that service on, and then Cal Jennings, said it before, it looked like it took himself out of position to finish. Lou City getting good numbers behind the ball, but what does a finisher do but find the back of the net? And then J.J. Williams again, that entry pass to Cal Jennings. 3 first-half goals for Tampa Bay Rowdies. And we knew that Lou City was going to have to play with that desperation in the second half, as they wanted 3 points to move up the table. And Cam Lancaster with such a special finish, but just too late in the match to really push for that 3rd goal and then possibly the 4th. And as you mentioned, for right now, Lou City sitting in that 6th spot.
Look at the Pave Masters final stats, and this one, 1 shot on target, just being that goal from Lancaster late. It was a 0 until then for Louisville. Not what you want come next week in the postseason. And the bracket, as of now, would look like this. Louisville, earlier when we showed you, was on the left side against Memphis, now on the right side against Charleston.
Yep, and Lou City, 2 draws against Charleston. Again, I don't want to look too much at previous matchups because every game has a story of its own, but you look up at the top part of the bracket, Tampa Bay Rowdies securely in 2nd, facing Birmingham Legion, a team that they have lost to both times this season, both on the road and at home. It's hard to beat a team 3 times, and when you look at how explosive Tampa Bay Rowdies are offensively, they're going to be a handful.
Louisville does not end the season the way they had hoped. Once again, your final score brought to you by Gorski Law Office. Tampa Bay 3, Louisville 2. My broadcast partner, Eric Dobransky, and the crew that makes this possible. I'm Joe Malva saying good night from Lynn Family Stadium. Look back next week when these teams are in the postseason, and stick around on ESPN Plus for plenty more action tonight here on Judgment Weekend in the USL Championship. Good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.